welcome to today's video. Instead of doing my regular intro and all, I'm just going to kind of dive into this declutter. This is all of my eyeshadow palettes, and this is definitely the biggest category I have. They're also the biggest, bulkiest items, so they take up the most room in my collection. So yeah, this is just kind of like the random, like big giant mess of palettes that I have. I'm going to pull through kind of brand by brand and go through all of my palettes and let you kind of see what I keep and what I toss out. So if you want to see what happens to this giant mess, then just keep watching. So these are my Morphe palettes. I have the 35T, 35P, 35K, and 35O palette, and I really liked these when I got them. I used them a lot when I got them, but after time I realized the quality just wasn't as good as some of my other palettes. The size and bulkiness of them, I just didn't like to pull them out or use them very much. I actually was using these kind of more for freelance at one point, but I actually prefer just to use my nicer ones, especially if someone's paying me to do their makeup. I prefer to just use my higher quality makeup on them, because if I don't personally like to use it, then why would I put it on somebody else? Again, these are good. They're just not the best. And again, I don't like the big, bulky, cheap packaging. It just made me not really reach for them because they were so large and all that. So I am going to pass these on. I think my cousin may want some of these. I'm not really sure, but they're very inexpensive palettes for one. I got all of these for $10 or $15. I did not pay the full price. I waited until they were on a sale. But yeah, I got use out of these, but I just don't use them anymore. Alright, next are my miscellaneous single eyeshadows. I am, of course, keeping all of these. This is like my more colorful palette. This is all of my neutrals. This is a mix of Makeup Geek and Anastasia Beverly Hills eyeshadows. And then this is my Makeup Forever eyeshadow palette. Love these. Love, love, love these. These are really good quality eyeshadow, especially their mattes. If you want really, really good matte eyeshadows, I definitely recommend these. And this one is actually uninterrupted by MAC. I just kind of stuck it in here because it's a bigger pan as well with these. And then this palette you can get, I think I got mine from Sephora, or you can get them from Makeup Forever's site when they have them in stock. It was kind of hard to get my hands on it when I did. So I'm definitely keeping all of these. Next are my MAC eyeshadows. I love my MAC eyeshadows. I am actually going to keep all of these. This is a really interesting quad I got limited edition. It is a novel romance quad, and it is these really cool shades, purples and greens, which are my favorite to wear with my kind of green toned eyes. So I'm definitely keeping this, as well as this is my Cinderella. It's not a quad. It's like just like a little small limited edition palette they did that was Cinderella, and this sold out really quick, and there's a reason for it. It has really, really good shades. The only one that I think that isn't a permanent is this one right here, but it has Vapor, Floof, Omega, Quarry, Satin Taupe, and Stroke of Midnight, which are all really pretty, and I only had Satin Taupe in my collection, so it kind of made it even more of a reason to get this to kind of help with my MAC collection. And I love this, especially when I go on Disney trips. I like to pack this. Alright, next are my two MAC eyeshadows. I have a video on both of these, so if you want to see what eyeshadows I have in each of my MAC palettes, I will have that video linked down below, but I'm definitely keeping these. I'm not really one that goes through my single eyeshadows. I think of it as my collection, so I just kind of keep all of them because I like having all my different shades, and if I was going to have crazy eyeshadows, it's going to be in those collections. Next set of eye palettes are my Urban Decay eye palettes, and I'm actually going to be getting rid of a few of these. This is all of the Urban Decay eyeshadow palettes I have. First up is the Urban Decay Electric palette, and yes, it is a crazy palette. No, I don't use it a lot, but I am going to keep it because this is where all my crazy eyeshadows are. If I need a bright color, this is where they are. I don't have them in single form really. I just have more kind of like bright neutral wearable ones. But if I need a crazy eyeshadow, this is where I come. I do really, really like this palette, and I actually bought it with points when I got it. And the ladies at Ulta tried to talk me out of getting this because they said I would never use it. But I'm still really happy with that purchase because I just think this is such a unique, cool palette, and they're all so well pigmented. I wouldn't necessarily recommend everybody get this, but if you're someone who really likes to play with makeup and you like bright colors, then you may like this palette. So I'm keeping this. Alright, next is my Urban Decay Naked Smoky. I'm not a fan of this. I got it, I used it some, but I just feel like it's kind of a boring palette. If you really like this palette, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to offend anybody with the things I'm getting rid of, but this palette for me just doesn't really excite me. It doesn't inspire me to do anything really crazy or cool. So I am going to actually pass this one on. Alright, next, this is kind of a sad one. I am going to get rid of my Naked 2 palette. It's sad for me because this was my first Naked palette. This is, it was a present from my husband, and I think it was a Valentine's or Christmas present for him. I can't quite remember which, but I wore this thing to death. You can see there's like, I've hit pan on this one right here, and I've actually lost the black one. A lot of them are actually kind of like getting to the point where they want to fall out, and they've just gotten really gross. But I don't reach for this anymore. It is, like I said, it's kind of more on the gross side. Maybe one day I might repurchase this, but for now I think I'm going to go ahead and pass on it because I much prefer using my Naked 1 palette over my Naked 2 palette. So here is my Naked 1 palette. I love this thing. I use this a lot. I probably use this palette once a week, about once a week, at least a few times a month. Love this palette, love this palette. If I'm wanting a really quick bronze, glowy, neutral look, or if I just want something with a little extra sheen or sparkle, because that is what these palettes have the best of, in my opinion. Toasted, Smog, Half Baked, Sidecar, all of these are just beautiful, beautiful shades. So this is my absolute favorite Naked palette, and I'm definitely keeping it. Next is the Naked 3 palette. This is one that I bought for myself. It was like the first big makeup purchase I bought just because I wanted it. I really like the shades in this. I know it's not for everybody, but I like blush shades, and I've had several dupes to this, but this is still the best. I just really, really like this. Alright, and my newest is the Urban Decay Naked Ultimate Basics. Oh no! Oh. Well, the mirror came out of it, but that doesn't really deter me. I'm still keeping this. This is my favorite matte eyeshadow palette. This and then my Kat Von D Shade and Light palette are my two kind of neutral matte, all matte eye palettes, and I really, really like this. So I'm definitely keeping this. I love it. And then this I am going to be passing on. This is my Urban Decay Gwen Stefani palette. This I almost didn't get when it first came out, and then I kind of talked myself into it because it was just such pretty shades, but I just didn't use this very much. It didn't seem to have the same quality that a lot of the other Urban Decay palettes did, so I just haven't used it much. I know one of my sisters loved hers, so I'm wondering if she might would want mine to replace her old one. I am keeping this, by the way. It was in the wrong pile. One of my other big brands that I have lots of palettes in is Lorac, because it is my favorite, one of my favorite eyeshadow brands. So I have 3 of the Mega Pros. I have 3 of the Pros. The only thing I'm going to be getting rid of actually is my matte and my metal palette. I just never use these. I like more of a mix when I have eyeshadow palettes. This one, it felt like a lot of the shadows just looked a lot like each other, so I don't really use this, so I'm going to pass these, but I am going to keep my 3 originals and 3 Mega Pros. Alright, next are my Tarte palettes. I am only going to be getting rid of my Tartelette palette. This is the All Matte palette, and it was the first one that came out. It's really pretty, but I just never reach for this anymore, and I have other matte shades that I much prefer. I am going to be keeping my Tartelette in Bloom palette. This is just a really pretty all-around palette. It's also super nice and compact, so I really like it, and it has a nice, it has some cooler tones in it. It has some warmer tones in it. I just think it's a really nice all-around palette. And then this is the Tarteist Pro. I got this from my cousin for Christmas this year, and I just think it's so, so pretty. It has a lot of really unique matte shades, and then it has these really pretty duochrome kind of sparkly shades on the side. So I'm definitely keeping this. I'm going to throw a few of mine all in together just to make it a little quicker. These are my 2 NARS duos that I'm definitely keeping. I have Isolde, and then I have Cordura. I'm not really sure how you're supposed to pronounce it, but both of these I really like, and I'm keeping. I'm also keeping my other 2 NARS palettes. This is the NARS Stephen Klein. This is part of last year's Christmas, I believe, and it is the Dual Intensity eyeshadows that I really like from them, and it's this nice little bitty palette that I really like. As well as my NARS Narcissus palette. I travel with this a lot. I just think it's so cool. It has these really nice, different, I wonder if these are set up like looks. I'm not sure, but I really, really like this palette. The ones I use the most are kind of in this region, but I really like these kind of more smoky blue colors as well. I just think this is a really pretty palette, and I do love using it. Alright, my Shade and Light eye palette, I'm definitely keeping. This is by Kat Von D. And it's just a really good staple matte eye palette to have in your collection. The quality of these are really good. The blendability is amazing, so I'm definitely keeping this just for the quality. Alright, this is, it looks like I hadn't used it because I still have the little plastic thing on this, but this is an Anastasia Beverly Hills palette, and I have several of them. They were kind of releasing all the time at one point, and now I think they've kind of slowed down because of the Modern Renaissance palette that is now a permanent. So of the ones that I'm keeping, I'm definitely keeping Modern Renaissance. I love using this palette. Alright, for the other ones, I'm going to keep this one, which was like the World Traveler palette. I'm going to pass on this one. It is the Artist palette. It is really cool, but I don't really use any of the colorful shades in this one. This Fresh one is a really cool yellow, but like I said, I just don't really use this. And I think I have dupes of pretty much everything except for Unicorn and Fresh, and the palette's not worth keeping just for those because I think somebody else would rather this and use it a lot more than I do. Alright, and then there is this one, which is their Self-Made palette. And this one I love just because it kind of expands my collection. All of these do. I really like the Anastasia Beverly Hills shadows. I don't have a ton of their singles. I actually prefer to invest in the palettes because they are a little bit better bang for your buck type of thing. And I just really love all the shades that they have in these. Pink Champagne is one of my favorites. Hot Chocolate. This color Blush is really unique. It's kind of like the silver that has a purple and like pink duochrome to it. So yeah, I really like all of these. Then we have Too Faced. I'm keeping all of these. These are new. This is the chocolate chip and white chocolate chip and chocolate chip palettes. They're these little bitty ones that I think are really cute and precious. This one is these really cool unique colors in it. And then this one is all mattes, but there's still really cool colors in it. Like, I think it's really nice that it has this green and purples and pinks in it. So these I am definitely keeping, as well as my semi-sweet chocolate bar. I don't have the original chocolate bar. I only bought this one. Yeah, I don't know. I really like this one. And then, of course, I have my peach palette that I really like. I don't really see why people get quite as obsessed with it as I do, but I do really like this palette. It is really pretty, but it is not quite worth all the hype that goes around with it. All right. I have two more little sections that I'm going to go through. These are kind of my high-end quads and smaller palettes. I'll start with this one. It fell out of its sleeve. This is a Chanel quad that, or not quad, it's 5 eyeshadows that came out at Christmas time, and I just think it's so pretty, especially with me getting rid of my smoky palette because it kind of had similar colors to this, but not quite nearly the good quality and uniqueness that these have. I really like this palette for a cool, unique smoky eye. I just think it's really pretty. Alright, next I have these two Becca palettes. These are really nice quality. I have the browns, and then I have these like kind of rose toned ones. I'm going to keep both of these. Obviously, I have more eyeshadow than a girl could ever use, but I really like using all these eyeshadows, and I like having them all in my collection. Next are my two Charlotte Tilbury palettes. They are for sure staying. Actually, everything in this pile is staying, so just a little warning. I am keeping all of this stuff. But I have the Dolce Vita and the Vintage Vamp palettes, and I think these are really beautiful. And they both have that really cool kind of glitter top coat, and then 3 other really pretty eyeshadows, and it kind of has a look already kind of set out for you. And they're really nice and petite and just really good quality. Alright, so my most expensive eyeshadow I have is this Tom Ford palette. I got this for myself as a kind of a graduation present, and it's just really pretty. It has these really pretty purples, and I really like to wear purple on my eyes because I do have green in my eyes, and I think it really helps bring out the green. But yeah, this is my little Tom Ford quad. It is in the shade Seductive Rose, and I think it's really pretty. I do kind of regret getting the purple. I wish I would have gotten the bronze one, but I don't think I'm going to ever get the bronze one. I think I have my one and done Tom Ford palette, and that is good enough for me. Alright, next is this Fiona Styles eyeshadow palette. These are really nice. I hadn't heard anybody really talk about the Fiona Style quads, but they're really nice, and this is a really cool one. The only thing I don't love about this palette is that all of them are pretty similar in shade, so there's not much contrast to it, but it gives a really pretty look. And this one is in the shade Topanga, which makes me think of Boy Meets World. Alright, this is a newer product for me. It is a Viseart palette. It is my only Viseart palette, and will probably always be my only Viseart palette. These are their like artist couture or something like that Theory palettes is what they're called. And they're just like a little bitty 6-pan. They're actually removable pans. They're just like little magnetic pans. But if you're wanting to try out Viseart or Viseart, whichever way you pronounce it, and you don't want to buy the big $80 palettes, then this might be a really good way to start because these are $45 and the quality is really, really good. I love that there's 3 matte and 3 shimmer shades. There are a few different options in this little style. You can actually, I think it props up. I don't do it like that. Yeah, you can it magnetizes and props up, so you can use it kind of like an artist palette. But I just open it and use it like a regular palette. Alright, and my last 2 palettes are my Marc Jacob ones. These were, I think, my first truly high-end eyeshadow palettes I ever got. I got one for a present for my cousin, and that was the Lolita, and I broke it the first time I used it. This one right here, I dropped it, it shattered, and I set it with alcohol when I got home, and it actually does work fairly well for one that completely shattered. But yeah, so this is the Lolita, and then this one is in the Night Owl, and I got this one during one of the VIB sale events. And this is the shade I was talking about earlier or in my last video when I was talking about the Kat Von D shade that was kind of similar to this. This is the one I usually will use instead. I just think this is a really unique palette and really fun. So it was kind of like a splurge item that I just thought was really cool and pretty. So that is the Night Owl and Lolita, and I will be keeping both of these. The last section is my drugstore, and I'm actually going to be getting rid of a good bit of this. I'm keeping all of these. These are the new Rimmel Magnifies eyeshadow palettes. I think they're really pretty. I'm actually wearing that eyeshadow now, not that you can see it, but I've been wearing it a good bit since I got them. Next are these CoverGirl ones. I'm actually going to just keep the Goldens, I think. I think they have the most unique shades in it. I really like the quality of these eyeshadows, and I like how nice, small, and travel-friendly they are. The nudes, I would keep, I don't know, I may keep this one because sometimes I like this. I might just keep this in my gym bag so I have eyeshadow palette. It's nice because it has a black all the way to the really light one. So I think I'm going to keep that, and I'm going to pass on my Roses one. Even though I really like the Roses one, I much prefer my Naked 3 palette. Right, next are these 2 little quads from L'Oreal. I think these are really fun. If you're looking for some nice eyeshadows from the drugstore, I recommend these, but I don't really reach for them enough in my collection to keep them. Alright, now we have the NYX Ultimate Eyeshadow Palette, and these are really cool, really nice, very expensive for NYX, so I highly recommend using a coupon code. But these are really, really pretty eyeshadows. This one is in the shade Warm Neutrals, but I have barely reached for this because I reached for all my other eyeshadow palettes over this one. It's just not one that really sticks out to me in my collection, so I am going to be giving this one away. Alright, well that is everything for this declutter video. My lights are not off in the background, it's just my ring light is making me very bright, so it kind of makes the background dark. But that is everything for this declutter video. It is all my eyeshadow palettes. I feel really good doing this declutter. Even though I'm not getting rid of a ton of stuff, it's still enough to really cleanse out my collection, make it to where it's just things I truly love are in my collection, and make it a little less cluttery. So the next and last one is going to be my lip products. So if you want to see that, be sure to subscribe so you will stay tuned for my future videos. And if you want to see any of the old declutter videos, I will have them all in a playlist, the link down below, called just Declutter Videos. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, thank you so much for watching.